Audience research engages with a relatively small group of individuals to gain detailed and in-depth data on that person, such as age and ethnicity, or on a specific subject, in order to find out what they like and dislike. This is data taken from the audience in order to be analysed. It will help to enhance the value of your media. It can be gathered using social networking sites and open source programs which show the statistical data of people's activities. This enables you to enrich your content and pinpoint the interests of the audience. Audience profiling is an advertising and marketing term for the demographic and personal characteristics for members of the target audience. This would be primary research as I would perform it myself and would be qualitative in order to have an in-depth analysis. The purpose of this is to know what age and gender your target audience fits into, and I would use this to pinpoint my target audience. Demographics are quantifiable statistics using closed questions which result in yes or no or numbered answers. These identify the key points within a society. Questionnaires would be a good way to perform this type of research and would also be primary. I can use this to identify key genders or age ranges so I know who to appeal to. Geodemographics is looking at specific populations of people and observing where they go and how they live within that set location. This would be secondary research from my media product, as some of the return rates can be low, as people often don't like to answer questions like these. However, if I were to carry out this primarily, I would use surveys and questionnaires in order to gain my answers. Consumer study is the study of groups, individuals or organisations and how they select and secure products, services or ideas. This would be primary research as I would perform the study myself, and qualitative in order to gain detailed, in-depth answers. This is done in order to find out how the audience uses the product or service so that you can improve your own, thus outperforming your competitors. Consumer attitude looks at the attitudes of the specific audience in a question, looking at the products they buy and the reasons behind why they buy them. This would have to be qualitative in order to gather in-depth details of the consumer in order to better my product and make it more appealing to my target audience. Audience awareness is the extent to which the audience is involved in the production you are using. The research I would use would be secondary and quantitative, as much of the research has already been done. Content analysis and sampling will be used in order to find out what the audience thinks about my production. I will look at similar products to find out ways of improving it to make it better suited for the consumer. Market research is seeing how well existing products which are similar to my own are doing in the current market regarding key aspects such as sales and popularity. This will enable me to predict how my product will be received by the consumers and to think of ways to improve on my existing competitors' products as well as what to expect in terms of profit and popularity from the consumer. Product market is referred to when presenting a new product to the audience, and the product is defined and categorized by the area of the market you are aiming at. The methodology for this would be primary, as I would conduct the research personally, and I would try to get detailed answers, resulting in qualitative data results, mainly from interviewing or focus groups. Competition is the variety of other groups, individuals or products who are vying for the same segment of the market as I am. This would be mostly secondary research, as I would have to look up the different competitors online and see how they are similar to my product, and how I can make mine better and stand out. In order to get the best idea of my competition, I would have to make sure to get as much detail as possible. This would result in qualitative data being used. Competitor analysis is looking at rival companies or products and identifying their strengths and weaknesses. Also, how do they market their products and to what extent do they ensure their products are in the public's mind. I will aim for qualitative results so that I have an in-depth knowledge so that I might mimic their success. I would look at websites and reports to gain the information required. This means I would be doing secondary research. Advertising placement is where you choose to place your adverts, such as billboards, buses and bus stops, or television. I would use secondary research by looking at the placement of advertisements for products similar to my own, and then plan my locations accordingly so as to gain the most popularity for my product. It would be qualitative as I want lots of details so I can make the most informed decision and then the best choice that I can. Advertising effects is the way in which an advertisement affects the opinion of the viewer or audience, and why. I would use secondary research, including looking at observations and surveys. In addition to this, existing adverts, so that I can see the positive or negative image the audience has of the product, or that advert in particular. Production research helps you to identify what resources you will need and how well it will fit in with the current market. This helps you to gauge whether your product will be successful. I will use this for my chocolate advert by looking at similar adverts and other adverts for popular chocolate bars. Content is what the advert consists of, such as the locations, props, cast and graphics. I would use primary for this because I will do the research myself, and make it qualitative because I want detailed, in-depth data. Location recce's and casting sessions will help me better plan my advert. This will enable me to produce an advert to the best of my abilities. Viability is the chance that your product will be a success within the market and that it meets the criteria for what you want it to achieve. By researching primarily using questions and surveys, I could gather qualitative data with lots of detail, giving me a better idea of whether my product will flourish or fail in the current market. Placement media is buying advertisement slots in other medias, such as TV, radio, magazines, and on billboards. This would be secondary and qualitative methodology, as most of it has already been placed. I would use a variety of media types to gather information, such as books, TV, and radio. Finance is the act of allocating assets to a cause you choose, usually done over a set period of time. As this is mainly numerical data, I would get quantitative results, and I would use shops and the internet to get an idea of prices and other factors affecting finance, such as the cost of filming in certain locations which may require a fee. This is a mixture of primary and secondary research. Cost is the payment for a specific task or object, usually done upfront and on the day of completion or ordering. Secondary research will allow me to see what the usual costs for certain tasks are. This means I will be able to calculate the value of that service compared with the time it could take, which will allow me to see whether it is a viable option during production. The results will be quantitative, as is numerical data. Technological resources are specific resources such as cameras, lights, audio equipment, and travel expenses, and whether you can afford to have them in your production. The methodology is secondary and quantitative, as I would use the internet to find the costs for products I would need, and as this is all to do with money, it is numerical data. Personnel are people who work for a specific company and have a specified job role, such as sound editor or camera assistant. Qualitative results would be best in order to let me allocate the best person for that role. Primary observation would mean that I could understand the variety of jobs in more depth within the market and then pick the correct person for that specific task. Locations are real places as opposed to shooting within a studio, which help the production to appear more realistic and therefore more relevant to your target audience. This would be primary and qualitative methodology, so I would pick locations personally. I would use location recce's as well as observations to choose the best places for my production.